Hello and welcome to the One World Quickfire Debates presented by Concern Worldwide. My name is Emma Hazard and I will be hosting the debate today. We will be debating the motion, educating men is the key to true gender equality. Proposing the motion, we have Tina Barton, Education and Engagement Director and co-founder of the Doc Media Centre. And opposing the motion, we have Sarah Reilly, the Research Director of the Women's Research Centre. Please note the side argument have been selected at random and may not reflect the debater's personal opinion. And without further ado, I would like to invite Tina to begin today's debate.
Hello, my name's Tina Barton. I'm the Director of Education at the Documentary Media Centre. My personal experience and observations around the engagement and education of men and the whole gender equality agenda really stems back from a really early age. So my mum was one of the founder members of a women's centre that was set up for local women that had experienced domestic violence. And even though that was a service and a support offer that they needed locally, it kind of had its own repercussions, because the very nature of the women coming together and their own empowerment kind of had an adverse effect when it came to the education and the engagement of men locally. So by the very nature that these women had been experienced difficulties in their own personal lives, their approach was to prevent men from coming into that facility. And I personally feel now, looking back as an adult, that that had a real negative effect locally, probably around missed opportunities really to actually approach that education engagement of men and taking them on that journey. So my first kind of experience of the realisation of the importance of engaging men and boys in education stemmed from there. And then throughout my career I've gone on to do many things, working in educational environments, doing sex education, and my real success, I feel, stemmed from my early experience of being able to pride myself on not separating males and females in the classroom, and actually trying to normalise the conversation and educating young boys at the same level and in the same journey as we would with the girls. And I would say for 5 or 6 years we had some really successful engagement with schools that actually came to me to come and do their education because of that approach, because other people just did not feel comfortable and confident. So I suppose my learnings around that experience was the realisation of the importance of normalising the conversation, involving boys and men as early as possible in some of society's issues and subjects that people shied away from actually discussing. And I feel that actually runs through the whole gender equality agenda really, and kind of are a lot of the things why people shy away from actually approaching education in that way. I think one of the big things that fundamentally kind of prevent positive engagement and education of men is a lot to do with the workforce. So I think a lot of factors come from having a skilled and confident and competent workforce that are able to deliver education, whatever that topic is, to both men and women, boys and girls, at the same level and the same quality. So I suppose in society in general, I think the reality of gender equality, it is a massive agenda, but when we talk of gender equality in its broadest sense, whether that be in education, sport, or just life in general, the real fundamental factors are the importance of normalising the conversation, approaching those opportunities in a real positive way. So I think fear plays a really big part. We're still a long way to go. I would love to explore and maybe have follow-up conversations and really discuss this topic in more areas, especially relevant to our Parallel Lives Network and the period poverty and menstrual hygiene work we do both in the UK and Nepal and Sri Lanka, where we're finding that men really do want to be part of the conversation, and actually the more opportunity we have to engage young boys at an early age, actually the impact of them being better partners, better brothers, better husbands, you know, the work is actually happening. So I hope that helped the discussion, and I would love to follow up with anybody if they want to find out more about the Parallel Lives Network, or actually reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Hi, I'm Sarah Reilly, and I'm the Director of the Women's Research Centre. Today I'm going to oppose the motion that educating men is the key to true gender equality. Matt Villano in a New York Times blog highlighted the heinous double standard when men are praised for behaviour that for a woman or mother will be regarded as routine. This is what Andrew Romano refers to as the soft bigotry of low expectations, or the presumed maternal incompetence. After Ryan Clark took a year out from being a US Supreme Court clerk to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in order to be primary caregiver to his child, he found that he was often met with scepticism when he said that he was struggling to manage his competing commitments to family and career. He felt there was an underlying assumption that women and men have different visions of what matters in life, such as men don't find child rearing all that rewarding, while women regard it as integral to the human experience. Much of this is unpaid work, which is often not valued, accounted for, or recognised. Many women hold these assumptions, and so it is not just men's education that we need to focus on. The UN Sustainable Development Goal number 5 is to achieve a gender equality and empower all women and girls. This idea of empowerment is key to achieving true gender equality. The first target for SDG 5 is to end all forms of discrimination against women and girls everywhere. A key way to achieve this is through legislative measures. The UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW, entered in force on the 3rd of September 1981 and marked a significant step towards women's rights being recognised as human rights. State parties are committed to taking all appropriate measures to eliminate any form of discrimination against women by any person, organisation or enterprise. However, it has also been criticised for leaving too much discretion to states, and many have nullified or marginalised core provisions of it. Moreover, there are just 189 state parties to CEDAW, and of these, there are 99 who have signed and adopted it into law. It also does not have an adequate enforcement mechanism, so women cannot make countries abide by it. Some governments may be unwilling to implement its measures against powerful transnational companies if they have limited resources and a weak economy. Economic and social rights, such as healthcare, education and workers' rights, tend to impact women more than men, but are also not treated as importantly or enforced as much as civil political rights, with the exception of discrimination. However, there have been significant successes with using the European Convention of Human Rights to protect and enhance and enforce women's rights. Several cases from the European Court of Human Rights and their implementation by Council of Europe member states have helped to change national laws and practices on violence against women, such as the Council of Europe Istanbul Convention, to the benefit of society as a whole and advance the rights of women. Many of these cases highlighted the inaction of authorities to investigate allegations of violence or sexual assault, which led to governments taking more steps to protect women, although a lot more action is still needed. Gender bias is still deeply embedded in cultures, economies, political and social institutions around the world. Many women also have internalised misogyny, which is when women subconsciously project sexist ideas onto other women and even onto themselves, and can be difficult to identify. Susanna Weiss wrote that internalised misogyny does not refer outright to a belief in the inferiority of women, but instead the byproducts of societal views that cause women to shame, doubt, and undervalue themselves and others of their gender. It shows up even in the most feminist and socially conscious of us, and it's insidious. A woman may decide to not apply for a job or promotion because she does not think she has a skill set to get it, or to undertake the role, while a man would simply just apply. A woman will feel guilty for interrupting someone else talking, while a man wouldn't. Women can also look down on other women, such as when a woman is criticised for being bossy when she's simply being assertive. When we see ourselves as a rare exception to our gender, such as being easygoing or strong or more focused on inner qualities than appearance, we insult all women and therefore ourselves. Therefore, while it is important to educate men to help achieve the true goal of gender equality, a much wider level of education for everyone and the empowerment of women and girls is required alongside more structural change and legal measures. We also need to be mindful to ensure that these rights are not reversed.
Thank you so much to both Tina and Sarah for taking part in this year's Quickfire debates presented by Concern Worldwide. Thank you and goodbye.